that then brings us to the inner confidence, right? So we just talked about everything external, everything that you might wear, that you might show, and now we're going to talk about the internal. And first, let me explain why earlier I said that internal confidence should always come first. The reason is that anything external to you is partially outside of your control, right? Some things are completely outside of your control or might feel like they're completely outside of your control, but everything is partially outside of your control. For example, my house could burn down today and I could lose all my fancy clothing, right? Or I could get fired from my job for something that I didn't do, some sort of misconception, but still I could lose my job, I could lose my position. These external things are things that it's really hard to grasp onto, right? And the world, the reality that we live in is one of impermanence. It's one of things constantly changing. Everything is always changing. And that means that sooner or later, external attributes of our confidence are going to disappear. Internal traits, on the other hand, you have a lot more control over. And you could make an argument that that is the only thing you have complete control over. But we won't go too deep into that. For now, it's just important to know something that you develop internally stays with you much longer, much stronger than something that you develop externally. So that's why I said go for the internal part first, prioritize the internal part, and then just add the external part just because it's nice, right? This morning, I was dressing up for this. I was like, I'm going to wear a blouse, I'm going to wear a sweater, I want to look good. So that's also perfectly fine. The first thing that is important to understand in order to gain inner confidence is self-acceptance, right? Accepting yourself. What does that mean? What does self-acceptance mean? I love this quote by Tom Bilyeu who says, at the end of the day, it matters how you feel about yourself when you're by yourself, right? When there's no one around you, when it's just you, how do you feel about yourself? Do you like being alone? Are you making yourself crazy? Are you making yourself anxious? Are you feeling depressed? Are you feeling loved? How do you feel about yourself when you're by yourself? And how do you view yourself? Do you see yourself, your identity, as something that is bad, as something that you would rather not be like that, right? Maybe you think, I am not fit enough. I am not nice enough. I am not attractive enough. People don't like me. People think I'm weird. Maybe we have all these insecurities. Or not even maybe, we do have all these insecurities. And then the question is, how do you view yourself? Do you view yourself as this person that is worthy of love and that you want to love? Or do you see yourself as this person like, actually I don't like you. I don't even like me, And at the end of the day, that is the first step to confidence. If I don't want to be friends with myself, why would anybody else want to be friends with me? Just let that sink in for a moment. So you really want to befriend yourself. And in order to befriend yourself, you need to understand yourself. That's also something I'm going to get in a little more deeply later, but just understand that, right? You want to know yourself, accept yourself, and then from that place, you can really start being more honest towards other people. Now, the moment that you start accepting yourself, you start accepting these insecurities. You start accepting these vulnerabilities, right? As human beings, we are very feeble. We are very vulnerable. Something could happen right now. A plane could crash into this building. Like the odds are very close to zero, but it could happen, right? A plane could crash into this building and I could be dead. Or a loved one that is very dear to me could just pass away right now. Or I can fail an exam, or I can be rejected by a girl that I'm attracted to, or there's all these things that can go wrong. We're so vulnerable as human beings. But it's an essential part of who we are. And very often we try to build these walls around our vulnerabilities. We try to build these walls around our insecurities, right? The pain is so much, the void that we're feeling inside is so hollow. We decide to just look away, right? Just look the other way. But by looking the other way, we are not accepting ourselves, and we are not accepting our human experience, our human reality. And if we don't accept ourselves, if we don't show our vulnerability, it's really hard to connect with other people, right? Because other people, all of these other humans that are also on this planet, are also vulnerable beings. But by me pretending that I'm not vulnerable, I'm going to make you think that I might either be a liar or someone who's just pretending to not be vulnerable, or even worse, you might think I'm actually not vulnerable, right? These people that we look up to are like, wow, that person is just always like iron steel. They can handle anything. It makes it really hard to connect on a human level. Whereas if I were to share one of my vulnerabilities with you, or you were to share one of your vulnerabilities with me, it instantly shows you are also human. I am also human. We can connect. For example, I have a deep fear ever since I was a little kid. I have a deep fear of death. And not necessarily of the process of dying, like I'm not afraid that it's going to hurt or it's going to be painful, but what comes after, right? That's something that stressed me out ever since I was 7 years old. Like, what the fuck? Like, why? Where? All these questions, like all these insecurities, right? In a sense, it's a very fundamental vulnerability. Our mortality it's the biggest challenge maybe even we face. And throughout my life, I'm constantly combating with this, right? Sometimes I have periods where I feel I can handle it very well, and then sometimes, like the last few weeks, I've had periods where it's been bugging me more again, it's been more in the forefront, and it's a very fearful feeling that this arises in me when I think about that. But by me sharing that with other people, it makes me seem more human, right? And it not only makes me seem more human, it is human. It is who I am. It is who we are, all are. And that really allows us to connect on a deep level. It allows us to drop away those walls, drop away those masks, and really connect human to human. Then the third thing that is really important, and which I kind of alluded to already earlier, is to be honest and to be looking for the truth. And you want to ideally both look for objective truth and subjective truth, but particularly for confidence, you really want to develop the subjective truth on the inside. You really want to understand who you are, what you are not, right? So in order, like I said earlier, in order to accept yourself, you need to really understand yourself. And as human beings, we are very complete. We're very complete beings. We're also very polarized in a sense, right? And we see this a lot in nowadays culture. A lot of things are left or right, good or bad, us or the others. But in reality, each and every one of us, me included, is the whole package. I am both good and bad, right? I can be a very nice person, but I can also be a complete dickhead, right? And just ask my girlfriend or ask some of my friends. I can be a complete fucking dickhead who disregards other people's wants and needs. Does that make me a bad person? Probably. Is that a bad thing? Probably not. Because everyone is a little bad and everyone is a little good, right? And this is what Carl Jung talked about when he said, we all have a shadow inside of us, right? We all have this yang to our yin. We all have this dark to our light. A coin has two sides. Without the bottom, you can't have the top, right? We always need the left to get the right. We always need the one polar to get the other polar. One pole to get the other pole, rather. And these two poles aren't separate things, right? Because everything that's in between is also needed. We are the complete experience. And that is something we need to discover about ourselves. Who am I truly? What sides are there truly inside of me? And as I get closer to that truth, I can express myself more honestly. I can show more of who I really am. And people resonate with that. Right? Nobody likes it when this snake oil salesman comes in, this person that tries to look like flashy and they're just not being honest. We pick up on that very, very, very easily. But someone who's authentic, someone who's being themselves, someone who dares to express himself fully and knows who they are, that we love. So, find yourself, know who you are, and then express that honestly to the world. These are some great ways to get more confident. The challenge that I want to give you right now is to write down something that you feel vulnerable in. And this doesn't have to be a huge thing, right? I don't want you to go out and start traumatizing yourself. If you feel like you want to write something deep, but just write down something that you feel vulnerable in and share it with someone. Maybe share it at dinner tonight, maybe share it with a friend, send a text, send a voice message, whatever feels good. But just write down one of your vulnerabilities and share it with someone. And see how that feels. And also see what happens between you and the other person. All right, cool. I'll see you here back for the next part.